Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tek Talk in KROOM. My name is Patrick Ding, and I'm your host for tonight. With me, joining me from the KROOM is my co-host, Mr. VJ.
Hello, hi everyone, good evening. Welcome and thank you for joining us on our subject matter today. Very interesting content, getting ready for e-invoice, comprehensive cybersecurity strategies for business. A brief introduction. As businesses increasingly transition to digital platforms, the integration of e-invoicing systems has become a critical component of modern financial operations. However, with this shift comes a heightened exposure to cybersecurity threats. Cybersecurity in e-invoicing is not just a technical necessity, it is a cornerstone of trust, efficiency, and regulatory compliance. Protecting sensitive financial data, ensuring the integrity of transactions, and safeguarding against unauthorized access are paramount. As e-invoicing becomes more prevalent, the need for robust cybersecurity measures has never been more urgent, making it essential for businesses to proactively address potential vulnerabilities and implement strong defenses. And with that, we will get on with the show. And over to you, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, VJ, for the nice introduction and get right straight to the point. So tonight, we have the privilege to invite two of our experts on cybersecurity strategies for businesses. So let me introduce both of them to you now. On my left is Mr. Kelvin Lim. Say hi, Kelvin.
Hello, everyone.
Kelvin is he has vast experience in servicing more than 100 SMEs and major enterprises, and have also successfully implement many technological projects in Malaysia and Singapore, particularly on software, cloud, and cybersecurity. Currently, he is the Vice President for the Infra 365, focusing on cybersecurity and cloud service. And on my right is Mr. Yap Chi Yun, who is specialized in ICT and cloud training and certification. He is an ICT trainer, an entrepreneur, and data communication consultant, and he has helped many students worldwide to obtain their ICT certification. Yep.
Hi, thanks, Patrick. Hi, VJ. Hi, Kelvin. So, I'm a certified trainer. My name is Yap. So, I'm an entrepreneur. So, I've been in the industry for the past 20 years, mainly on the ICT. So, I think that I hope today discussion I can share some of the information so that everyone can benefit from it. Right. Thanks.
Maybe Kelvin also give a little bit
Sure.
your personal profile to our audience here, so that they have more confidence about what you are going to talk about.
Right. Sure. Thank you, Patrick. Pleasure to be here as well. So I'm Kevin, representing Infra 365. So Infra 365 is actually a cybersecurity and cloud hosting specialist company. So we actually been in the market for more than 25 years now, and we have successfully implemented more than 500 customers. And I think one thing that we are very honored to share also is that our customer retention rate is generally quite high, above 91%. I think because in our line of business, right, is a bit different compared to others, because our line is no news is good news. So if your Wi-Fi is working well, you won't find a technician. So same thing, if your environment is safe, secure, then we are here, means that we've done a good job, right? So this is a bit about profile about our company.
Okay, so Vijay, let us get into the first discussion tonight. The first topic I want to ask both our gentlemen here: what specific cybersecurity risk area associated with transitioning from a private network? Obviously, when you now doing e-invoicing, you are transferring your data from a private network environment to a public one during this implementation of e-invoicing system. So maybe both of you, Yap or Kelvin, can provide our audience some example of potential risk that businesses should be aware of.
I think maybe I can start first.
Mm.
So I think it's interesting because traditionally in the IT environment is always very private. We communicate internally within our own organization and among our own colleagues. So for the first time ever, we are now starting to talk about exposing or integrating or API to the public network. So this transition itself actually changed the whole ball game in terms of whole cybersecurity and how you manage on your infrastructure. Of course, definitely, when let's say last time your house is all about you, now you're opening up. Basically, of course, you are more exposed into a lot of other different things. Of course, in Malaysia, wise talking about rise of ransomware, malware, or even I think one of the key things that people are most afraid of is basically data leakage, because right now your door is already open, so just that itself you have certain kind of concerns already. But I think if you Mr. Yap, you have more things to top up on.
Yeah, I agree with Kelvin. I think firstly is that we already opened our floodgate, because I think that we already using our email. So may I ask that any one of you are not using email? So when you are using email, you're already exposing to the internet already. So one example over here is you will receive a lot of email. So you need to know what is the right email to click and which one is not. And as what Kevin mentioned, that data leaking is actually really an issue. Now, one thing over here is if let's say you are exposing to the internet, there are things that you should follow best practice, and there are things that you are not supposed to do. Now, one of the thing here is the ransomware, as what Kevin mentioned, is very disaster. So if let's say you are going to click on something especially we call it a phishing email, they try to get your information. Maybe you click on some of the link without you knowing it. They just show you a blank page. You think that is nothing going to happen, it's safe, but the malware is already installed into your computer. And then later, maybe after weeks or months, typically it's days, okay, up to weeks, then it will start to collect the information. And this information will be sent to this bad guy. So when we open up our network, as what Mr. Patrick mentioned here, is that security is really paramount. So we are going to go into more detail on it. But to address Mr. Patrick over here is opening our network is not new, because as I said that you are serving your internet, you already exposed. But now you are exposing your invoice, which is your financial information. And a lot of information is not only yourself, it's also your customer information, your supply information. All this is, we have more responsible to make sure that the information we have to safeguard. Yeah, I think that's a major thing. The data breach is the real thing. The information leakage is a real thing. So this is something that we have to look into.
Yeah, because to top up on that, especially in terms of businesses, enterprises, right now we are in the era of data, and data is primarily asset, right? So just by exposing our data assets to the public or potential leak has actually a lot of consequences that we may have to think about. Yeah, that's why this kind of handling of cybersecurity becomes so much more important.
Yeah, so this is what now you are talking about ransomware, click, what not to click, phishing email, and all these. These are all human factors. Whether you must be knowledgeable, and then you must be enlightened to know what to do. This is purely on the human factors. But what I'm talking about, the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure. How critical is the IT infrastructure reliability in the context of e-invoicing, and what challenges do businesses face in ensuring that their IT systems can respond in time, to this cyber security attack, so-called.
Okay, let me answer that.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Patrick. Because this, for now, we are open for, the government actually open for the 100 million revenue and above, starting from this month, 1st of August. But eventually, on next year onward, January, then there's from 25 to 100 million, and subsequently for everyone. So we cannot run away. Now we have to face it. Like for company, we go for digitization. I think that just to make it simple, last time we actually used the cash, but now we use touch and go or digital wallet. Government also want to go for digitization, because if let's say we are using digitization, a lot of information, the government will actually able to look into it, analyze it, so it will be benefiting the government as a whole. So this is a good thing, but it actually comes with another string, because that everything is digitized. You need the equipment, as what Mr. Patrick said. You need to have a computer, a laptop, you need to have an internet link, and you need to have a software. Now, very important over here is that you need to make sure that the equipment that you are using is not outdated. Many of the problems that just now that we mentioned, like the ransomware or Trojan or whatever bad things that happen, is because that we are not patching our system. So make sure that your system, your security, your security as in your security posture of your operating system, your what we call the accounting software, all right, is really secure. All right. The problem over here is that for SME, how am I going to know whether it's secure or not? So I think that's a very big challenge, because it's a hardware challenge and the software challenge and the connectivity challenge over here. But then again, this is something that we have to face it, because last time we do not have a computer and internet is very limited. Now internet is everywhere. If you have no connectivity, we can use our handphone, become a hotspot, we can connect to it. So I don't think connectivity is a problem unless that you really stay in a very, very remote area where the signals also do not have. But what more important over here is you do need a computer. If you do not have a computer, then you have to get the computer somehow, because e-invoicing is about digital. Yeah, maybe Kevin, you want to add it?
But thank you. So that was a really detailed and really good. Yeah. So basically, I think Mr. have really covered most of the components over there itself, right? But of course, talking about connectivity, generally right now, because of cloud technology and all, generally it's not really an issue anymore already. But of course, other than the hardware aspect and everything, I think right now it's more a bit about getting an environment to be high availability or HA environment. Basically, now a lot of time is to talk about what's the mitigation plan. If something does happen, what is the next step of action, right? So of course, that's why a lot of SME and all is starting to adopt, talking about your disaster recovery, talking about your cloud technology, or even talking about having a HA environment, just to ensure that if anything does fall in terms of the infra perspective, there's a backup. So that because right now businesses generally are not able to have downtime already. Last time we still can say 1 or 2 days and everything, but now generally, depending on your industry and all, we generally sometimes or another we do not allow downtime. And of course, e-invoice you can do anytime, but if you do last minute and then we are supposed to do it and then you do not have the infra to do that, then that's where you start to have panic.
I want to ask one question. Just now, mentioned about hotspot, handphone, I mean, a lot of SME, SMI, or even including myself, sometimes when I go to a place where the internet connection is not that really strong, so I use my hotspot, because we are talking about cybersecurity, when you're using the hotspot, is it really safe to use your hotspot? I want to ask that question.
Very good question. All right. So, if you notice over here is that hotspot is actually from your handphone. So generally, I will have to use generally is safer. What is not safe is to use a public Wi-Fi that is not encrypted. That is not safe at all. And because they are using the public Wi-Fi, I can put a router with a Wi-Fi, allow you to connect to me. Then I can redirect you to another web page, and I can do some really nasty thing on you. So please be aware that, if it's a hotspot, I definitely feel that it's much safer than you go into the Wi-Fi. But if you really need to use a public Wi-Fi because your hotspot is somehow is not available, then make sure that you have another layer of encryption, such as a VPN. I think that is a good hygiene to have, basically to protect your data. Yeah.
Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah. Basically, like we said, having the VPN will be sufficient. But of course, definitely, hotspot is better than Wi-Fi. So generally, I think, even me myself, I generally seldom go to the public Wi-Fi to do. But even if I do that, I have to ensure that my VPN is on first. Yeah. So at least I know that I'm safe. Because we cannot see what they're going to do or what's going to happen. But at least we have one layer to just get it out of the picture first.
Yeah. So for the benefit of the audience over here, VPN is a virtual private network. So you can subscribe it, or you also can have something that you can set up at home. So if you are a bit techie, you can actually set up the VPN at home. Or if let's say you want to have a convenient, they have a certain VPN facility that you can actually get from the internet. But again, this is something that is on the table and option. So please do your research. All right. Anything encrypt is better than non-encrypt, and do not just believe in a public Wi-Fi. All right. That's my advice to those who actually have connectivity issue.
All right, I think VJ has some questions to ask. VJ, perhaps you can ask your
Yeah.
questions now.
Okay, I have got a question here.
Yes, Mr. V.
Now, how can businesses effectively manage the risks of unauthorized access when using cloud-based e-invoicing solutions? What encryption methods and access controls should be implemented to secure sensitive financial data?
Kevin, you want to take?
Yeah, I think this part basically could be answered within let's say two different environment, production and process, right? So I think for production environment, generally it's important, of course, to have your firewall ready, your endpoint antivirus ready, and of course your encryption ready. Like for example, definitely when you now doing about cloud-based e-invoice system, we are generally on a web-based. Definitely a SSL certificate is important. Which basically means when you go to website, right, you see HTTP or HTTPS. So the S is important, right? So these are generally on the production part of this, but of course, generally in terms of the humans factor or the process factor, that's also very important. So I think maybe this will be more relevant to talk about the people factor.
Yeah, thanks, Kelvin. So as what Kelvin mentions, people, technology. So the technology just now, like Mr. Vijay mentioned that about the encryption, we actually generally do not worry about the encryption because that one is determined by the LSDN. So I believe that the LSDN already have their encryption in place because we need to match the encryption because for us to encrypt, they have an encryption and decryption. So the mechanic on how to do that, we will not delve in, but that is on the technology side. I think more important is on the human side. So if let's say you are secure on your technology side, but the user, as in the people, they are not aware about the security awareness. Example, ask yourself that, how do you keep your password? So do you use your password across multiple websites? I believe that many of you, including myself, it's easier for human to remember repetitive password, but do you know that that is very dangerous? If I compromise one of your account, I compromise all your account, including your e-banking. So from the technology side, I think that one is being covered by people. People is very important. Another thing that I want to add on is the process as well. Now, when we use the e-invoicing, the process will be slightly different because the way that last time we do it, we actually on-prem. All right, we actually do not need to deal with the LSDN as an external entity. We only deal with LSDN maybe once a year. But now every single invoice that we want to do, we have to create the e-invoicing. The process are different. So look into your process. Do not actually just allow one person to actually handle everything. Segregate the duty if it's possible. Because let's say you only have one person and that one person have all the rights and that compromise, the whole thing will be compromised. Okay, so people, process, technology, all these have to be secure.
Yeah. And you talk about a bit on that, right? Because let's say talking about cyber threats, or even we talk about just the term or terminology of data leakage, right? Generally are divided into two parts. One is of course your cyber threats, which attract you from external side. But the process part is important because it's talking about protection against internal disclosure of information out of it unwillingly of the organization. That's why the process part of who, where the control necessary or the policy setting is become much relevant to ensure that every endpoints are protected, every channels are actually well enclosed to prevent all this data leakage. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was very enlightening, gentlemen. Now, let's say I have another question. Let's say in the event of a cybersecurity breach involving e-invoicing systems. Now, what incident response strategies should businesses have in place? How can they quickly identify, contain, and mitigate the impact of such a breach?
Okay, there is no different that if you have e-invoicing or without e-invoicing. When you have security breach, you have a security breach. Let put it this way. Security breach include somebody tampered with your data, somebody delete your data. Maybe if you have a ransomware, somebody encrypt it, and then you have to pay them ransom. So this is what we call incident. So how do you approach this incident? Depend on the severity of the case. No matter how, regardless whether you are small, medium, or large, you always have the plan before things happen. the best one is always have a backup. Okay, many of the case, if let's say you do not have backup, that's it. That's it. Nothing already. It just vanish already. So assuming if let's say you have a ransomware attack, so you will lose your data or you have to pay ransom. But typically we don't encourage you to pay the ransom because end of the day, after you pay the ransom, these are the bad guys. How often that you think that they will honor their word? But we are not talking about this on this case here. So just now you asked if let's say we have incident, what should we do? Prepare first. Now in Malaysia we also have Cyber 999. By right, if let's say our IT infrastructure has been breached, we have the obligation to actually report to the government. All right, just do a Google look for the Cyber 999 in Malaysia. We have a response team, incident response team. If you can just visit their website, they have a list of very detailed on what you should do if let's say your data is actually being breached. Kevin, you want to add on?
Yeah, I think definitely prevention is better than response. All right. So the prevention of this is first of all very much necessary. And in this actual era here, we have a lot of technology tools that can help us in this. Now it's talking about 24/7 managed response and detection, just to ensure that because humans have certain limitation, we still need rest and everything. But talking about AI and all, at least we know that it's 24/7 running. And once that the AI detect there is certain we call it behavior that is not normal or abnormal behavior, then we will know what to do. But even in that case, if anything does happen, I think that's much necessary for us to stay calm because that's where we know how to do respond. Of course, definitely there are a few things that we do or we advise people to do. First thing off, for example, like isolation, to at least everything go back down to offline mode for temporary while to isolate to find out which part is the one that is getting it. Then we start going into investigation. At least, of course, the data backup is the primary thing because you cannot operate bad enough already, and you lost all your data asset that you have been compiling or accumulating over so many years. That's even more important. So figuring out all those things, then only we start to go back into our operation, and then we will start to do the investigation to really know that where is it coming from, where is the loophole. Then you start to now cover the holes and to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah. Mr. Vijay, I think that the question over here I need to add on is because that if let's say you know that the incident happened, then at least that you know how to respond. The other question is, do you really know that you have an incident? I think that is the more scary question that you should.
Actually, true. That is the pain point. How do you realize that you have actually been breached? How do you know that they have planted something inside, right? Well,
the attackers are now very smart.
Yes.
They do not attack you immediately. So they will go in, they try to look around, lateral movement to see where is there any more valuable thing I can get from you. Then they start to do some harmful thing.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that is something that I'm not here to actually scare anyone because we do have incident that when they happen.
It's not scaring. It's making the
awareness,
the viewers, creating the awareness because a lot of them don't know.
Yeah.
So
it's real. It's real. It's not dramatized. Really.
Yes. It's not. There's no dramas here because I believe everybody recently in Malaysia over the last few years we have been very badly hit because I believe that that we compromise our privacy and security and our cyber security for convenience. So I guess now we have learned that the hard way, and we should be able to be mindful of our privacy, security, and our data now with deep fake AI. It's become very bad as well with fake news. So please, Mr. Yap, you're not scaring. You're actually providing
Vijay, I'd like to talk a little bit on that.
Take care of themselves. Yes.
Yeah, Vijay, so I'll just top up a little bit as well, right? I think that is somewhat raise out very good things that do we really know whether we've been compromised, right? Actually, this works the same way as a general human being, right? Let's say we do not know whether how's our health situation. When it happens, then only we know. But definitely there are certain things that we can do. For example, going for a constant health check, going to body check and all these things to know. So same thing for the IT environment, right? I think one thing we have to go constant on all these vulnerability assessment tests or penetration tests and everything, just to ensure that our area is well. Of course, we wouldn't know whether how it goes, but at least we know that at this point, everything that we should do has already been done. but this had to be a continuous process, because we can see that all these viruses or malware, everything, as we are improving, they are too improving, right? So that's why this constant body checkup, vulnerability assessment is a much necessary task to do.
So now you're talking about regular checkout, of your
Yes, yes,
physical body, and then
yes.
I'm talking about inside within this IT system. At the moment, probably for those companies who have not implemented the e-invoicing system, maybe they are vulnerable in other information being stolen. But when it comes to e-invoicing system, the financial data will be stolen. That is even more damaging. So maybe from your point of view, or Yap, or this Kelvin, you can tell us, like what kind of most effective strategies. I don't know, the firewalls, the endpoint threat detection, what kind of body checkout you need to do regularly, and how often do you need to do, like every year you need to do a body checkout, do the ECG test, all these kind of things, But for the IT system, maybe you can recommend to our audience, what kind of regular checkout they need to do, whether it's small, medium, or large corporation.
Yeah, so basically the basic one, those security software, antivirus software, I think that these are basic things that all of us have necessary to have on the endpoint. So when we say endpoint, it can be computers, it can be your physical machine or your servers.
Even your phone.
Yeah. So these are the basic things that we need to know. But again, choosing the right software is very important, because there are certain software that appear to be antivirus itself is a virus. All right. So this thing you have to be careful. So another thing over here is that you always have to do checkout, like what Kelvin mentioned over here. If let's say your company have an IT department, ask them to do a regular checkup whether the patch is actually being patched properly. Their infrastructure, is there any server that is end of life already, but in the corner nobody aware about that, because there can be an attack vector that the attack can come from there. So keep a very hygiene environment. When I say hygiene environment, I'm referring to your security posture. So if you have a regular checkup and you have put in the proper patches, you follow the best practice. Not to say that you will not have any incident, but at least that it will be lesser a chance that you will get this attack. Yeah,
it's like you had to do some regular exercise, and having some vitamins, drink a lot of water, Vijay. What you think about that?
No, yeah, it's true. There is a lot of cybersecurity is a big business now. There's everybody, like how when blockchain was a trend, everybody was talking about blockchain. When Web 3.0 was a trend, everybody was talking Web 3.0, right? So just like that, cybersecurity has become a lot. It's come with a lot of hype, but without understanding the depth of the knowledge of the cybersecurity and real world, real time learning process. And everybody has to always be mindful of this, like Mr. Yap so eloquently articulated just now, that you need to have regular checkups, your softwares must be updated, your hardwares must be updated, you must be using latest machines. So these are little mindful things that you have to be taken. Yes, Patrick.
Yeah,
Vitamins has to be regularly taken.
yeah.
If you want to protect your privacy. Now, this leads to my other question. Gentlemen, what data privacy concerns should businesses be aware of when implementing e-invoicing? And how can they ensure compliance with Malaysia's data protection regulations? Are there specific guidelines or frameworks that can assist in this process?
Yeah, I think pretty much it's pretty standard, in the sense that as long as you're complying with PDPA 2010, and of course you get consent from your customers or anything before you get that information, and generally that is being taken care of, right? And of course, so as long as you get that part done, being compliant on the site, you don't foresee any much of a big issue. But what do you think?
Yeah, you see that the RRB already mentioned that there are certain fields that you have to put in, and there are certain information that you may not have it, so you may need to get a consent by either your customer or supplier to fill up. So once they fill it up, then you make sure that they consent that this information is used on the RRB. So other than that, I don't think that there's any issue, because as long as you keep it in a proper way, you don't collect this information and then you actually spread it out into the internet, that will be very damaging to your company. All right. So keep the data as though that is like your money. Make sure you secure it. All right. Because the if let's say we are getting the information and then we send this information out, then we will be liable by the law. We will be
I think
penalized.
I think as long as we had our due diligence to protect the data and not willingly or
Yeah.
purposefully
Yeah.
expose it out,
Yeah.
then generally that will be fine really.
Yeah. So the burden is on the users now to actually keep all this information, because now there's a lot of information that will be in your server or in your computer already. Yeah.
I want to go back to the first question that
Yes.
the answer that Yap was talking about,
Yeah.
the human factors. So how important is the employee training and awareness in maintaining cybersecurity during the e-invoicing transition? And what type of training programs should businesses implement to ensure their staff are prepared to handle potential threats?
Security awareness is always important. I wish that to see that there are already many companies who are doing this. When new employee come in, when they do the onboarding, they need them to go through a 1 day or half a day mandatory security training. So during this training, they will tell you that how to use your computer properly, what can be performed in this computer, what things can be sent, or what things you are not allowed to do. So once they actually have this process onboarding, so they should have certain security awareness. I have a client who actually do this. They do a simulation phishing. So what they do here is that they go through the awareness, security awareness. Then they will tell them that this is how you recognize phishing. All right. So they will give them the technique and teach them the method. So after 1 or 2 weeks, then they put on some bait. Right. So they will put on some really harmless phishing email, and whoever will click on that, immediately it will go into the server, and then their email or the name, whoever will click on it will be there. This information will go into HR, then they have to do retraining. I think the retraining and the training for the new staff is very important. And please be aware that every industry have their own set of security procedure. All right. If you are working in the FSI, which is the financial service industry, and if you work in the retail, their security policy may be different. So it depends on the industry that work with, and whether you are working within that company, what is your position? If your position is an administrator who have a lot of privilege into a lot of IT equipment, then you will subject to yourself with even more stringent. All right. And then you need to have a regular internal audit. If let's say there is such a team within your organization. Yeah.
Kelvin?
I think that's really good, and I totally agree, right? And because all this cybersecurity, or even let's say in practical world, scam and everything, is a ever learning and ever reminder. So a lot of times, just a 1 or 2 day may not be sufficient, because now you remember like hoo ha after they forgot already. So what we generally do or promote is that we do a monthly or bi-monthly or even quarterly kind of assessment, just to keep them alert. So, oh, okay, this is ransomware. Oh, okay, this is malware. Oh, these are the fake phishing site. That's why, exactly like what Sayap said, there are times so we purposely send out all these fake phishing site just to let you know that be alert. Because we are constantly trying to educate you, and you have to constantly be alert of whichever you get. Because right now, based on my experience, the phishing site can be very, very real.
Yeah.
Like talking about e-invoice, right? Before the 1st of August implementation, I think just 2 or 3 weeks before that, came out a fake phishing site, which is coming from LHD and everything, and a lot of people got hit by that. So that itself has to trigger us to remind us that we have to be constantly being on alert mode.
So based on what both of you were saying, I believe every employees, maybe it's not just the IT department of the company, the account department or administrator, do you mean that every one of the company need to be trained on cybersecurity?
Everyone.
Everybody, right?
Absolutely everyone.
VJ, your company has trained all your staff to be alert about cybersecurity attack?
Yes, yes. Everybody has to be informed, because that's why it's called blockchain, right? If there's one weak link in the chain breaks. So the chain has to be be comprehensive. So everybody has to be mindful, because all these chains are what makes up the whole chain, these blocks of chains, right? So every one of them has to have the knowledge, and it will be advisable to send them for a lot of training, like what Mr. Yap was saying. The awareness needs to be created. Yes.
And when they see something phishing, they have to report to their
Yes.
IT security.
Yes.
So that will immediately alert the technical person to really look into the incident.
Yeah.
What kind of audit, or what kind of auditing, or audit system that you think that we need, companies need to implement regularly for this to secure their e-invoicing system, and what specific aspects that businesses should focus to ensure their cybersecurity measure are effective and up to date.
I think one thing is that your password. So Patrick, how often you change your password?
Yes.
Every month I change.
Every month
Yep,
you change.
you hit it right in the
Yeah.
head.
So,
Yeah.
so that is a good practice. You actually change it. It's also the next question I want to ask Patrick. Do you use one password across everything?
Yeah.
I often change my password because I forgot, what password I use,
Yeah.
So I got so many password, some is like, 16 letters, some only 8 letters, it's not so high priority. I only use,
So just now you asked, what is the good practice over here? The good practice is do not use the same password across every website that you go in. Change your password. If you possible, if let's say the support on your software do support the multi-factor authentication, please use that. Don't put the password under your keyboard. I flip the keyboard, I see the password, then that's it. So you will get a certain, penalized letter from your HR. You have to give them the awareness. We know that it's very difficult for human to actually just remember, especially complex password with the numeric and the alphabet. But that is for the sake of the security. As what Mr. Vijay said, that if on the chain, one of the chain is actually weak, the whole thing will break. So we have to actually follow the guideline. So if let's say we want to make sure everyone is safe, everyone have to work together on this part.
Yes. Over to you, Vijay. You got anything to add on this topic?
Okay, finally, we are reaching to the end, but I do have one final question. Okay, this more towards the integration. How does the integration of e-invoicing with existing ERPs, enterprise resource planning systems, impact cybersecurity? What additional precautions should businesses take to secure these integrated systems and protect against potential vulnerabilities?
Yeah, I think to answer on that questions, basically, as mentioned, the three components: the production, the process, and the people. So I think people, we have just talked about it. So back to the production part. Basically, first thing off, definitely talking about how infrastructure, what would be the best proposal. First thing off, from the SME or to enterprise level kind of thing, is your current firewall sufficient? How long have you not upgraded? That's one. Two,
Yeah.
how reliable or stringent is your current IT infra, whether it's still on premise or you're being considering to go into cloud, all right, just to have more of the security controls. And three, about your policy, what sort of things that you are able to protect your endpoints from being exposed or to leak data out of it, right? Because right now, a lot of time also depending on the software perspective, whether they are enhancing e-invoice API from their own existing current software or they create another middleware. Of course, from a cybersecurity point, it's better to go on a middleware approach than on the existing. Why is that so? Because first thing off, if there's anything does happen coming from LHDN, which is the open port, the open door, they will actually affect your middleware only and not affect your primary application and your key database. So that will be the key thing coming from the production angle. Anything to
Yeah, I think very important, because as what Kelvin said, that if let's say we are going to use, regardless whether it's a middleware or the integration with the ERP, I think most likely, Mr. Vijay, you are going to use the API, which is application programming interface. So if it's an API, if it's integrated by the ERP vendor, then make sure that the code that they are doing is follow the best secure coding method. Because if let's say there's a loophole, then there will be a potential risk. As what Mr. Kelvin mentioned, we also have an option to use the middleware. And the middleware is actually being endorsed by MDEC. I believe that they already do their due diligence and have done a lot of testing. But this testing have to be ongoing because things can evolve. LHDN may upgrade their system, so the API may also need to be upgraded. So this is an ongoing process. Coding secure is very important. Testing the system for vulnerability is always important. So this is ongoing, and it's not like one time you can do everything, right? So follow the best practice. Yeah.
So, Mr. Yap, so would it be correct to say there must be internal policies and rules for best practices for API securities has to be implemented? Would that be correct?
Most likely the API will be on the back end. If let's say you are the user, most likely your user will not able to understand the API. It's the ERP vendor. So make sure that the ERP vendor work together with your team. And if it's a middleware, most likely they will also not tell you about how they do a coding. So yeah, so this is something that the customer will not able to.
Yeah, it's at the back end, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think looks like a lot of companies, whether you are a small company, middle company, or big corporation, you need to do a lot of training for your company staff.
Absolutely.
So the last question I want to ask, how to utilize HRDF fund? Like my company, we also have a lot of HRDF fund, but how to utilize this HRDF fund for businesses, for their training, to start off with their e-invoicing and cybersecurity vulnerabilities type of knowledge, how to claim for this type of training needs.
Okay, let me answer this one since I'm in the training line. So HRDF is a fund that, if let's say your company have access certain number of people, you need to contribute 1% of your salary. So this 1% of whatever you get, you pay to a HRDC, then the HRDC will mandate you to actually do training. So you can use the HRDC for you to train cybersecurity, definitely. Then you can do the e-invoicing. I believe that if you just do the searching, there's a lot of accounting firm, accounting software. They have a lot of this training that is available for e-invoicing alone. But you also have to look into the software and hardware aspect and the security aspect. So make sure that this program, they are endorsed by HRDF so that you can claim for it. And when I say you claim for it, you also make sure that you have enough levy in your HRDF funding. So if you have, and then the program is endorsed, then basically you can just attend it without pay additional money.
Anything to add, Kelvin?
I think for that, because we do provide cybersecurity training to end user of clients as well, right? So definitely in terms of the monthly assessment, the cybersecurity awareness, and talking about your phishing sites, your fake phishing sites to check, these are actually certain part that is able to be under the bundle. But this is something that we can talk further more on.
But Patrick, if let's say the audience want to learn more, you can ask them to visit my website, infosite.com.
Okay. So we are toward the end of our...
Mr. Patrick, I think we have got a question from one of the audience.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Hang on 1 second. This is a question from an audience. Is auto-generated passwords and saved in computer a safe thing to do? Or is there a better solution? And the person who's asking the question is Patrick.
Okay.
Also a Patrick.
Patrick, a different Patrick with a C.
Okay.
Generally, auto-generate password, because as a human, it's very difficult for us to create a random password. So that's just a piece of software that generates a password. So generally, it's safe. But whether you want to save the password into the cache, especially in your browser, or maybe if let's say you're using Chrome, you go into the Chrome password manager, generally it's safe. It's just that if let's say you be careful on non-certified extension, that will be quite dangerous. So you make sure that the extension, because like the extension that you want to generate a password or you want to keep the password, generally is an extension to your browser. So make sure that they are from a legal way and is a proper one. All right. Other than that, I think it's pretty safe. Yeah.
But of course you can, if you are using Google or you have Microsoft Authenticator or those, there will be an added advantage. But generally, the auto generation is quite good because you have a long length and a lot of random numbers with no patterns. So that's good. But of course, one thing bad is that you physically very hard to remember.
Yeah.
So you got to rely on
Master password.
the master password. Yeah.
Else, then you can actually use certain apps that can actually do that for you.
All right. Are there any other questions from the audience, Vijay?
No. As of now, we don't have any questions. I think we can close. And
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So if that is the case, we are ending our session for tonight. So until the next session, be inspired, be positive, and we thank you for listening to our show tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you,
Thank you.
Vijay.
thank you.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Gentlemen.
Good night. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.